Stop talking. Right now. Because what you're about to say could ruin everything. Look, I know that sounds dramatic. But stay with me for the next few minutes, because I'm going to show you something that most people never figure out until it's too late. Some questions aren't really questions. They're tests. They're traps. They're weapons designed to extract information from you, and the moment you answer honestly, you've already lost. We grow up being told that honesty is the best policy. That good people answer questions. That being helpful and open is how you build trust. And you know what? That's beautiful advice for a world that doesn't exist anymore. In the real world, your words are evidence. Your answers create vulnerabilities. And there are people, some malicious, some just thoughtlessly selfish, who will use every piece of information you give them to gain an advantage over you. I'm not talking about becoming paranoid or dishonest. I'm talking about becoming strategic. Because there's a massive difference between lying and simply refusing to hand over ammunition to people who might use it against you. So here are 7 questions you should never answer. At least not the way people expect you to. These questions seem innocent, normal, the kind of thing someone asks while waiting for coffee or making small talk in an elevator. But each one is a gateway to giving away power you don't even realize you have. Let's start with the most common and most dangerous question you'll hear this week. Question number 1. Where are you going? Or where have you been? This question is everywhere. Your coworker sees you grabbing your coat and asks where you're headed. Your neighbor catches you coming home and asks where you've been. Someone at the gym asks what you're doing later. And because we're conditioned to be polite, we answer without thinking. Huge mistake. Here's what's really happening when someone asks this question. They're mapping you. They're collecting data points about your routine, your schedule, your habits, and your vulnerabilities. And most of the time, they don't even know they're doing it. Let me explain why this is so dangerous. When you tell someone your location or your plans, you're revealing when and where you're predictable. You're creating a pattern. And patterns are exactly what predators look for. Say you mention to a casual acquaintance that you hit the gym every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 in the morning. Seems harmless, right? You're just making conversation. But what you've actually done is confirm that your house is empty during those specific time windows. You've handed over surveillance data for free. Or let's say you're at work and you mention to a coworker that you're heading downtown for a meeting. Now they know you're not at your desk. If they wanted to go through your files, check your computer, or spread gossip about you when you can't defend yourself, you just gave them the perfect opportunity. This gets even more dangerous in professional settings. Imagine your boss asks where you were during your lunch break, and you casually mention you were across town. What you don't realize is there's a competitor's office across town, and now your boss thinks you're job hunting. You just created suspicion out of thin air, and it could cost you a promotion, a raise, or even your job. Criminals and con artists call this technique pretexting. They don't just randomly choose targets. They gather information first. They ask casual questions, build friendly rapport, and piece together a complete picture of when you're vulnerable. Research shows that over 80% of home burglaries are committed by people who had some level of prior knowledge about the victim's schedule. But here's the part that really messes with people's heads. Even people with good intentions will unconsciously use this information against you. It's not malicious. It's just how human brains work. We're pattern recognition machines. Once someone knows your routine, their brain automatically files that information away. And when they need something from you, or when they're gossiping, or when they're making decisions about you, that information bubbles back up. Think about it. If people know you're always late on Mondays because you drop your kids at school, they start seeing you as unreliable, even if you're the first one in every other day of the week. If they know you go to a certain coffee shop every morning, they know exactly where to accidentally run into you when they want something. Your location isn't just geography. It's power. It's leverage. It's intelligence. And you're giving it away every single day without realizing it. There's also the digital component we need to talk about. When you post your location on social media, check in at restaurants, or share your travel plans online, you're broadcasting your absence to the entire world. You're basically putting up a sign that says, "I'm not home. Come rob me." And yes, criminals actively monitor social media for exactly this reason. But it goes beyond physical security. Every time you reveal where you are, you're also revealing who you're with, what you're doing, and what matters to you. That data gets collected, analyzed, and used by algorithms, marketers, and anyone paying attention to build a psychological profile of you. So what should you say instead? Here's the secret. You don't lie. You just get really good at pleasant, non-specific answers that don't reveal anything useful. Someone asks where you're going? Just taking care of a few things. Where have you been? Oh, the usual errands and chaos. What are you doing this weekend? Still figuring it out. Probably just relaxing. Notice what these responses do. They're friendly. They're polite. They don't create suspicion. But they also don't give away a single piece of tactical information. You're not being rude. You're being smart. Here's something I want you to try this week, and comment my location. My power down below if you're going to do this challenge with me. For the next 7 days, practice deflecting every single where question you get. Don't give specific locations, times, or plans to anyone who doesn't absolutely need to know. Just see how it feels to keep that information to yourself. I promise you, within a few days, you'll start noticing how often people ask these questions. And you'll start wondering why they need to know so badly. The reality is, most people ask out of habit, not necessity. This conversational filler. They don't actually care where you're going. They're just filling silence. So when you deflect with a vague answer, 99% of the time, they don't even notice. They just move on to the next topic. But that 1% who do notice, who push back and demand specifics, those are exactly the people you need to keep information from. Because people who respect boundaries don't get upset when you set them. Your schedule is strategic information. Your routine is a vulnerability if the wrong people know it. And the moment you start treating your location like the valuable data it actually is, you'll notice how much more control you have over your own life. Stop handing out free intelligence about yourself. The world isn't entitled to know where you are, where you've been, or where you're going. And the sooner you internalize that, the safer and more powerful you become. Question number 2. What do you do for a living? This is the golden question at every party, every networking event, every first date, and every casual conversation with a stranger. It's so normal, so expected, that we answer it without even thinking. And that's exactly why it's so dangerous. Here's the brutal truth. The second you answer this question, you get sorted. You get categorized. You get assigned a value in the other person's mental hierarchy. And for most people, that value isn't what they hoped it would be. Watch what happens when you tell someone your job title. Watch their eyes. Do they light up with interest and respect? Or do they glaze over with polite indifference while they start planning their escape from the conversation? That split-second reaction tells you everything about how they've just ranked you in their head. The question isn't really about what you do. It's about where you fit in the social pecking order. Lawyer? Doctor? Tech entrepreneur? High status, you just became interesting. Retail worker? Freelance artist? Teacher? The energy shifts. The conversation gets shorter. You just got filed under not valuable enough for my time. And here's what makes this particularly insidious. This sorting happens unconsciously. The person asking doesn't think they're being judgmental. They genuinely believe they're just making conversation. But research in social psychology shows that within seconds of learning someone's occupation, we make automatic assumptions about their intelligence, their worth, their lifestyle, and whether they're worth investing time in. But the damage goes way deeper than just social ranking. When you lead with your job title, you reduce your entire identity to your economic function. You become what you produce for money, not who you are as a human being. And people treat you accordingly. Think about it. You meet someone, tell them you're an accountant, and suddenly that's all you are to them. Every conversation becomes about taxes and spreadsheets. They stop seeing your other interests, your passions, your depth. You've been boxed into a label, and labels are incredibly hard to escape. Here's where it gets even worse. Your answer gets remembered and shared. Oh, you need a graphic designer? I met someone who does that. Except they don't remember your name, your personality, or your actual skills. They remember the label, and that label follows you around like a shadow. In professional contexts, answering this question carelessly can cost you opportunities you don't even know exist. You're at a conference, someone asks what you do, and you give your current job title. What you don't realize is that person is actually hiring for a position you'd be perfect for, but it's in a different industry. The moment you boxed yourself into one category, you eliminated yourself from consideration for something better. Then there's the security angle. Social engineers and scammers absolutely love this question because your occupation reveals massive amounts of exploitable information. Say you work in IT, now they know you have access to systems and technical knowledge. Finance? You handle money and have access to accounts. Executive assistant? You're the gatekeeper to someone powerful. Each answer is a puzzle piece they use to manipulate you later. Comment, "I am not my job" down below if you've ever felt reduced to just your paycheck and title, because this happens to almost everyone, and it's time we stop participating in it. So what's the alternative? How do you answer without giving away your power? First option, flip the script. When someone asks what you do, redirect with curiosity. "I'm involved in a few different things. What brings you to this event?" Or, "I'm exploring some interesting projects right now. How about you? What's your story?" Notice how this keeps you mysterious while putting the focus back on them. People love talking about themselves, and you just avoided the trap. Second option, go abstract and intriguing. Instead of, "I'm a marketing manager," try, "I help companies figure out what their customers actually want." Instead of, "I'm a teacher," say, "I work with young people to help them discover what they're capable of." See the difference? You're describing impact instead of title. You're creating curiosity instead of categories. Third option, and this is the power move, answer with your passion instead of your profession. "I'm really into urban photography right now. I've been learning about sustainable architecture. I'm fascinated by behavioral psychology." This does something brilliant. It makes you interesting as a human being, not as an economic unit. It starts conversations based on shared interests instead of social comparison. The most successful and interesting people I've ever met rarely lead with their job title. They lead with their curiosity, their projects, their interests, because they understand something fundamental. Your job is what you do to pay bills. It's not who you are. Question number 3. How much money do you make? Now this one is more obviously invasive, but you'd be shocked how often it comes up in slightly disguised forms. What's your salary range? How much did you pay for that car? What does a person in your field typically make? Is your company paying well these days? Let me be crystal clear. Your income is nobody's business unless they're writing you a check or you're applying for a loan. Not your friends, not your family, not your coworkers. Nobody. Here's why this question is pure poison. Money is the ultimate measuring stick in our society, and the moment you reveal your income, you've given someone ammunition to either resent you or pity you. There's almost no good outcome. If you make more than the person asking, you've just created jealousy and resentment. They start viewing everything you do through the lens of your higher income. You buy coffee? Must be nice to afford expensive coffee. You take a vacation? Well, yeah, you can afford it. You've inadvertently made them feel bad about their own financial situation, and they'll unconsciously punish you for it. If you make less than them, you've just lost respect and status. They start viewing you as less competent, less valuable, less successful. Even if they're good people who don't want to think this way, the bias creeps in. Studies show that we automatically associate higher income with higher intelligence and competence, even when there's no correlation. If you make roughly the same amount, now you've created comparison and competition. They start measuring their lifestyle against yours, wondering why you have nicer things or why they're struggling more than you. It becomes a constant evaluation game. But here's the really manipulative part. People who ask about your income are often doing market research on you. They're figuring out how much they can ask you for, how much they should pay you, or whether you're worth their time. A potential employer asks what you currently make. They're anchoring your salary expectations low so they can underpay you. A friend asks how much you make. They're calculating whether you can afford to lend them money. A family member asks about your income. They're figuring out who to hit up when they need financial help. Your income is strategic information in negotiations, relationships, and social dynamics. The moment you give it away, you lose leverage. So what do you say? Simple, "I'm doing okay. Thanks for asking." Or if they push, "I don't really discuss specific numbers, but I'm comfortable." If someone gets pushy or offended by your boundary, that's actually perfect information. It tells you they wanted to use that information against you. Your financial situation is private intelligence. Protect it like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Question number 4, what's your password? Or, can I borrow your phone? Okay, this one seems obvious, right? Nobody should give out their password. But you'd be absolutely stunned at how many people do exactly that, especially when the request comes from someone they trust or in a moment of social pressure. "Hey, can I use your phone real quick to make a call? What's your Wi-Fi password? Can you log into your account so I can show you something?" These requests seem innocent, helpful even. But every single one of them is a potential security breach that could destroy your life. Here's what people don't understand. Your phone isn't just a device. It's your entire digital identity in a handheld package. Your emails, your bank accounts, your private messages, your photos, your location history, your search history, your dating apps, your medical information. Everything. When you hand someone your unlocked phone, you're giving them access to literally every aspect of your life. And people are nosy. Even good people. Even people you trust. They can't help themselves. Studies show that when given access to someone else's phone, over 60% of people will browse through content they weren't asked to look at. But it gets darker. That friend who borrows your phone could screenshot private conversations, forward themselves sensitive information, or install tracking software in under 30 seconds. And you'd never know until it's too late. Think I'm being paranoid? Ask yourself why they need your phone. They have their own phone. Why do they need yours? The answer is usually control, snooping, or boundary testing. They want to see if you'll give up your privacy, and once you do, they know you're an easy target. The same goes for passwords. Just tell me your Netflix password. What's your email password so I can help you with that issue? No, absolutely not. The moment you share a password, that account is compromised. Forever. Because here's the thing about passwords. You can change them, but you can't erase the fact that someone else knows your pattern. If your email password is Fluffy2019, then people can guess your banking password is probably Fluffy2020, or something similar. We're creatures of habit, and one password reveals the system. And let's talk about the "can I use your phone to make a call" trick specifically. This is a classic con. The person makes the call, but while they're talking, they're also going through your apps, your photos, your messages. Or they step away for privacy, and now they have unsupervised access to your entire digital life. Comment "my phone, my life" down below if you're going to start protecting your devices like the vaults of personal information they actually are. So what do you do when someone asks? Simple and firm. I don't share my phone, sorry. I don't give out my passwords to anyone. If they need to make a call, offer to dial the number for them and put it on speaker. If they need Wi-Fi, give them the guest network password, not your main one. Real friends respect boundaries. People who get angry when you set boundaries are showing you exactly why those boundaries were necessary. Question number 5. Why are you single? Or why don't you have kids? This question makes my blood boil because it's so casually cruel, and people ask it like they're commenting on the weather. Usually at family gatherings, reunions, or anywhere someone feels entitled to interrogate your life choices. Here's why this question is psychological warfare. It presumes something is wrong with you. It assumes your life is incomplete, that you're failing at some fundamental human requirement, and that you owe people an explanation for your personal choices. The question itself is loaded with judgment. Why are you single? Translates to what's wrong with you that nobody wants you. And why don't you have kids? Means you're selfish, broken, or failing at your biological purpose. And here's the trap. There's no good answer. Anything you say will be used to further judge you. Say you're single by choice? Oh, you're just picky? Or you'll change your mind when you meet the right person. Say you haven't found the right person? Maybe you're too picky? Or have you tried lowering your standards? Say you're focusing on your career? Career won't keep you warm at night, or you'll regret it when you're older. Don't want kids? That's selfish, or you'll change your mind, or Who'll take care of you when you're old? Can't have kids? Now you've opened a deeply painful wound and given people ammunition to pity you or offer unsolicited medical advice for the rest of eternity. The question is designed to make you feel defensive about your life. And the moment you start defending your choices to people who have no stake in them, you've lost. You're now seeking approval from people whose opinions shouldn't matter. But here's what really gets me. People asking this question are almost never genuinely curious. They're asserting social dominance. They're enforcing traditional life scripts and punishing deviation. They're making themselves feel better about their own choices by questioning yours. Think about it. Happily married people with kids don't ask this question with genuine openness. They ask it with an agenda, to confirm that their path is the right one and yours is questionable. And the worst part? It's often asked in public settings where you're pressured to answer politely. At a dinner table with 12 relatives staring at you. At a work event where you can't afford to seem rude. The social pressure is the weapon. So what do you say? Here's my favorite response. That's pretty personal, don't you think? Said with a smile, it's polite but firm. It puts the awkwardness back where it belongs, on the person who asked an invasive question. Or go with playful deflection. Why are you offering? Or, I'm still waiting for my Hogwarts letter, or, same reason you don't have a yacht, just hasn't happened yet. Or if you want to go nuclear, why do you ask? Watch them stumble, because they don't have a good reason. They're just being nosy. Your relationship status and reproductive choices are nobody's business. Not your parents, not your friends, not your coworkers, not random acquaintances at parties. These are deeply personal decisions that don't require explanation or justification. The audacity of asking someone to explain their most intimate life choices in casual conversation is staggering. And yet, it happens constantly because we've normalized invasive questioning as politeness. Stop answering. Stop defending. Stop explaining. Your life is not a courtroom and you're not on trial. Question number 6. What are your weaknesses? This question shows up everywhere. Job interviews, performance reviews, team-building exercises, even casual conversations with people trying to seem deep. And it's presented as if it's harmless self-reflection, like you're supposed to be grateful for the opportunity to expose your vulnerabilities. Don't fall for it. Here's what's really happening when someone asks about your weaknesses. They're mining for ammunition. They're looking for pressure points, soft spots, and exploitable flaws they can use later. And most people hand this information over willingly because they've been conditioned to think honesty equals integrity. In a job interview, this question is pure manipulation dressed up as assessment. You tell them you struggle with public speaking? Congratulations, you just eliminated yourself from any role involving presentations or leadership positions. You mention you're not great with conflict? Now they know you won't fight back when they underpay you or pile on extra work. And here's the really devious part. They frame it as a test of self-awareness. We want someone who knows their weaknesses and is working on them. But what they actually want is a confession they can file away and weaponize when it's convenient. The classic advice is to give a humble brag weakness. Something like, I work too hard, or I'm too much of a perfectionist. Interviewers hate hearing that because they know it's a dodge. But the reason everyone uses those answers is because we instinctively know that revealing real weaknesses is dangerous. In relationships, this question is just as toxic. Your partner asks what your insecurities are, what makes you feel vulnerable. You open up thinking you're building intimacy. But if you're not with the right person, every weakness you confess becomes a weapon during arguments. You told them you're insecure about your intelligence? Now when they're angry, suddenly you're not smart enough to understand. You mentioned you struggle with abandonment issues? Watch how quickly that becomes you're too clingy and needy when they want space. Even good people will unconsciously use your admitted weaknesses against you, because when we're hurt or frustrated, we reach for what we know will land, and you gave them the map to your soft spots. In workplace settings, a manager asks what you struggle with during a performance review. You mention time management. Suddenly that becomes the narrative in every evaluation forever. You're the person who struggles with time management, even if you've improved dramatically. Here's the psychological truth. People remember weaknesses way more than strengths. It's called negativity bias. Our brains focus on threats and flaws. So when you tell someone your weakness, that information gets encoded deeply and spreads quickly. Comment, "I control my narrative" down below if you're done giving people ammunition to use against you. So what do you say instead? In job interviews, flip the script to growth. Don't confess a weakness. Describe a skill you're actively developing. "I'm expanding my data visualization abilities by taking an online course," or "I'm building my public speaking experience through team presentations." See the difference? You're demonstrating initiative, not admitting flaws. In personal relationships, be extremely selective about who gets access to your vulnerabilities. Not everyone deserves to know where you're fragile. Save that level of intimacy for people who have proven, through consistent behavior over time, that they handle your tender spots with care. In casual settings, deflect with humor. Chocolate and true crime podcasts, or "I can't resist a good conspiracy theory." These are light, harmless, and reveal nothing exploitable. If someone pushes and demands real weaknesses, that's critical information. They're not safe. People who respect boundaries don't demand access to your vulnerabilities. They earn it slowly by proving they won't misuse that information. Your weaknesses are strategic information. In negotiations, relationships, career advancement, knowing someone's weak spots gives you leverage over them. People collect this leverage, often without realizing it. Your coworker who knows you struggle with anxiety, they might use that to make you seem unstable when competing for a promotion. Your friend who knows you're insecure about your appearance, their jokes always land on that exact spot. The person you're dating who knows you fear abandonment, they threaten to leave every time you disagree. This isn't cynicism. This is pattern recognition. People use the information you give them consciously or unconsciously. Question number 7. Can I trust you? Or are you lying to me? This is the ultimate trap question, and it's designed to put you in an impossible position. Because here's the thing. If someone has to ask whether they can trust you, the relationship is already damaged. And your answer, no matter what it is, won't fix that. Think about the psychology here. When someone asks, "Can I trust you?" what they're really saying is, "I don't trust you, and I want to see how you react to being accused." It's a test, and it's rigged. If you say, "Yes, of course you can trust me," you sound defensive, like you're trying too hard to convince them. Guilty people over-explain, right? So your reassurance actually makes you seem less trustworthy. If you say, "Why would you even ask me that?" you sound evasive and offended. Now you're deflecting instead of answering, which makes you look even more suspicious. If you get emotional and say, "I can't believe you don't trust me," now you're manipulating them with guilt, which is exactly what an untrustworthy person would do. See the trap? There's no good answer because the question itself is an accusation disguised as an inquiry. And "Are you lying to me?" is even worse. It's a direct accusation with a microscopic fig leaf of deniability. The person asking has already decided you're lying. They're just watching to see how you react so they can confirm their suspicion. Here's what these questions really are. They're relationship power plays. The person asking is establishing dominance by putting you on trial. They're making you prove your innocence, which means they've already assumed your guilt. And once you start defending yourself against vague accusations, you've accepted the premise that you're guilty until proven innocent. In healthy relationships, trust is built through consistent behavior over time, not through interrogation. If someone trusts you, they don't need to ask. And if they don't trust you, asking won't create it. But here's where it gets manipulative. Abusive people and controllers love these questions because they create a dynamic where you're constantly proving yourself. You're always on the defensive, always justifying, always seeking their approval. It's exhausting and degrading, and that's exactly the point. They ask, "Can I trust you?" after you've been completely trustworthy, which trains you to believe that your trustworthiness is always in question. You start over-explaining your whereabouts, showing your phone unprompted, avoiding anything that might trigger suspicion. You become smaller and smaller, all to answer a question that should never have been asked. Comment "Trust is earned," not interrogated down below if you've ever been trapped by these questions, and felt that sick feeling of being guilty until proven innocent. So what do you actually say when someone asks if they can trust you? Here's the power move. Trust isn't something you ask for. It's something you build. If you don't trust me, we should talk about why, not put me on trial. Or simply, that's not a fair question, and I'm not going to defend myself against vague accusations. If you have a specific concern, let's discuss it directly. Notice what these responses do. They refuse to play the game. They put the responsibility back where it belongs, on the person who's questioning the relationship foundation. If someone asks, "Are you lying to me?" The answer is, if you think I'm lying, then you've already made up your mind. What would you need to see to actually believe me? This exposes that they're not looking for truth. They're looking for a fight. Because here's the reality. If trust is gone, no amount of verbal reassurance will bring it back. Trust is rebuilt through action, consistency, and time, not through answering gotcha questions. And if someone repeatedly asks whether they can trust you despite your consistent trustworthy behavior, that's not about you. That's their issue, insecurity, control, past trauma, whatever. But it's not your job to constantly prove yourself to someone who's determined to doubt you. Your integrity is not on trial. You don't owe anyone a defense against accusations they can't even articulate. And relationships built on interrogation instead of mutual respect are relationships you should seriously reconsider. So there you have it. 7 questions that seem normal, harmless, even polite. But each one is a gateway to giving away power, control, privacy, or dignity that you'll never get back. Let me be clear about something. I'm not telling you to become paranoid or to distrust everyone. I'm telling you to become strategic. There's a massive difference between being a good person and being an easy target. The world is full of people, some malicious, most just thoughtlessly self-interested, who will extract every piece of information they can from you and use it however benefits them. Your job is to recognize when you're being mined for data and to protect what's yours. Information is power. Your location, your income, your vulnerabilities, your identity, your boundaries, these aren't small talk topics. They're strategic assets that you give away every single day without realizing the cost. So here's what I want you to do. For the next week, pay attention to how often you get asked these questions. Notice how automatically you answer. Notice how uncomfortable it feels to deflect or set a boundary. That discomfort is years of social conditioning telling you to be compliant and available. Push through it. Practice saying, "That's pretty personal," or "I don't really discuss that," or "Why do you ask?" Practice deflecting without apologizing. Practice protecting your information like the valuable resource it is. Because every time you answer a question you shouldn't, you're training people that you have no boundaries. You're advertising that you're easy to manipulate, easy to categorize, easy to control. The most powerful people you'll ever meet don't answer every question they're asked. They're selective, strategic, and unapologetic about protecting their privacy and their power. And that's not arrogance. That's intelligence. Your life is not an open book. Your choices are not up for public debate. Your information is not community property. And the sooner you internalize that, the more control you'll have over your own story. So stop answering. Start protecting. And watch how quickly your life shifts when you stop giving away pieces of yourself to people who haven't earned them. If this video changed how you think about the questions people ask you, drop a comment below with which question surprised you the most. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who gives away too much to people who don't deserve it, share this with them. They'll thank you later. Now go out there and remember, silence is not rude. Boundaries are not mean. And protecting yourself is not paranoia. It's survival.